everyone. This is the Buttercup podcast where we talk about early childhood topics. I'm Marisa Macy, and my guests today are Mr. Michael Linden. Mr. Linden is a technology trainer for the Orange County Library System, where he's served the public for 15 years. He delivers in-person and online classes with a focus on accessibility, adaptation, and personal safety in computer applications and on mobile devices. He also provides one-on-one assistance for library visitors during scheduled open lab classes. I also have with me today Miss Oliva Okolue, and she is a casual technology trainer for the Orange County Library System, where she has served part of the BizKids Program for 1.5 years. She is also the owner of and designer for Livi Simone Designs, an online handmade accessories business. She assists in the BizKids program by utilizing her experience as a business owner. And I also have with me today, Mr. Tony Orengo. Mr. Orengo is an instructional technology specialist at the Technology and Education Center. He has been part of the Orange County Library System based in Orlando, Florida for 17 years, and is responsible for the design and development of classroom training and e-learning programs that integrate current and emerging technologies. Welcome. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having us.
This is so exciting. I get to talk to you guys. You are amazing. We were just talking before we started recording, and I am such a huge fan of yours. The Orlando, our library system here in Orlando is so amazing, and librarians and people who work for and with the library are rock stars. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so excited to talk to you guys. So what is the Orange County Library System, and how does OCLS support young children?
Absolutely. Well, first off, thank you so much for having us today. It's really a treat to get to spend some time with you and the Buttercup podcast listeners this morning. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And it's just it warms our heart to hear just how great of an impact and positive impact the library has had in your family's life. So thank you so much for sharing that. It definitely fuels and motivates us to move forward. Well, the library has a long and rich tradition of serving residents of Orange County as an institution for lifelong learning. It's our mission to add to the quality of life by creating learning environments and experiences that add to the quality of life by creating the quality of life that foster personal growth and development. So to that end, we have a wide range of literacy and educational resources, classes, and events for the entire family. We're just going through lists of all that we offer, and I'm like, how do we condense all that we do? Because the library offers a whole lot, and sometimes even for us staff, it's kind of hard to keep up with what every other department is doing. But we've got a wide range of resources and classes and events for the entire family. So for our younger customers, we present monthly literacy program, interactive storytelling sessions. And these are really neat because they often feature really fun hands-on crafts and science kits. My daughter is starting kindergarten in August. So our kindergarten readiness initiative has been really, really helpful. It's designed to support the developmental needs of children from the day they are born until the day that they set foot in kindergarten. And it incorporates the 5 early literacy practices of the Every Child Ready to Read. So that's reading and writing, singing, talking, and playing. So those are featured in every one of those programs. We also host a great selection of fiber arts and technology classes for youth ages 6 and up. So these classes cover a range of topics from digital literacy skills to graphic and web design, coding and game development, sewing, knitting. The list really does go on and on. And so I'm grateful for this opportunity that we have to talk a little bit more about the library and its services.
That's awesome. Thank you, Mr. Orengo. That's great. So my little one was in your BizKids Club this summer, and we've done so many things through the library. We've taken classes, and like you said, there's such an array of things like the fiber arts, the programs for children. You guys have concerts at the library. You put on plays. We've been to the library and made fairy gardens. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on what you offer children and also grown-ups. And up at one of the branches, it just started like right before the pandemic, maybe, or maybe a year before the pandemic. Even social work, you have a social worker that you brought into the library. I mean, there's just something for everyone. And it's just amazing how you guys support our community, and you're at the heart of our community. But the BizKids, we just love the BizKids program so much, and thank you. Can you share with listeners what the BizKids program is?
Gladly. First of all, thank you so much for being so involved with your child's experience in BizKids. Parental involvement is extremely helpful. We really appreciate it. Not that it's a requirement in any way, but knowing that our students have some support in the background when there's technology issues or questions about something that we're doing, it's super helpful. So I appreciate that. Presently, BizKids is an 8-part program, though it may increase in the near future to 9 parts. But presently, it's an 8-part program where we introduce entrepreneurial concepts to children ages 9 to 14, if I remember correctly. So it's a considerable age group when you think about it for that concept. But it's geared towards kids in socioeconomically underprivileged zip codes around Orange County. It's not limited to that, but that's the focus. And so we get a pretty thorough introduction to entrepreneur as a vocabulary word and as a social role. At least that's how I like to present it. So we go through the process of brainstorming and developing a business idea. We check out different ways that companies are formed and how they're organized. We do dip our toes into financial literacy and startup funding. We get into marketing and promotions and the different ways that you can approach that. And the focus on the customer and customer service. And we usually either cap it with an investment pitch presentation for their business idea or a hands-on experience in a mini marketplace facilitated by the library. But as you may imagine, the mini marketplaces have been difficult to organize over the last year and a half or so safely. So we've had to put that on hold, but we're hoping to reincorporate that in the near future as well.
That's great. Did you develop the curriculum, or did you kind of piece it together from different other curricula, or how did you come up with all of the ideas, like the pitch and developing the business plan and all of the parts that go with it?
Yeah, so the BizKids Club has really been a great team effort. So from the team helping us to secure the funding to the instructional technology team that I'm a part of that helped to define the learning outcomes and design the curriculum and activities, to the instructors who've played a crucial role in molding that curriculum and that program to fit the more specific needs of their students. It really has been a team effort. But many years ago, we were constantly looking to how we can improve and grow our selection of offerings for our customers. And so at that time, the show Shark Tank was very popular, and the ratings were really good amongst families. So it was like a family show, which was surprising to me. But it seems like a lot of families enjoyed watching that together. And we knew that we could leverage that and offer students an experience that would introduce business skills, entrepreneurship skills, and life skills that would be really important. And these sorts of things schools aren't always able to introduce students to these concepts. So it started all the way back then in 2007, and it has evolved into what it is today. But lots of people have kind of played into that. I don't know if Michael or Olivia could share a little bit more about their experience in working with that material and what it was like to present it to students for the first time from their instructor standpoint.
So yeah, so we did have a great basis when we first started BizKids, but you never know until you actually are in the field and talking to the kids and realizing what they actually understand and what they get from what you're saying. So even though we had laid out a plan, we should talk about what is an entrepreneur? That was really the basis. Like, what is that person? What is the role? What does it mean? Can you say it? So it was very much started from there, and then we expanded on that. And we really had to explain to them, it's more than just, what can I sell to get money? It was really, especially a way I like how Mr. Michael explained it from an ethical point of view. How can you help your community? And also just the off chance, the bonus of making money from that. So it really was from can you build your community by offering a service or a product that can better your community, better something that's already in the world that could be better. So, and going through that process, you finding out what the kids, how the kids view the world. That was the most fun part about this, is how they view their world and what they think the world should be different and how it should be better. And that was one of my, pretty much what I really liked about this, and how that changed how we taught them and really getting involved in how they're, a lot more kids are doing more coding, they're doing more games and doing a lot more digital based things, and how they're getting money through marketing and through Instagram and all that things. So things that I didn't know growing up, like my options for being a business owner is like, what can you sell to make money? And then a lot of it about it's, how can I create content to make money now? Everything's so digital. And so it's no longer about a physical product, but it's like, how do I sell myself as a person that people will support me through their donations or through some other way? So we develop a baseline, but it's grown as our community's grown and as we listen to the kids and hear what they want.
Thank you, Ms. Okolue. And what I loved about the program during the pandemic is you offered it digitally through Zoom, and you had the children, the students in group, but then you also did breakouts with small groups, and you were the one who worked with my little one the most. And I just loved how you followed her lead, and you used the curriculum, but you let her explore. And one of the things she's been doing lately is reading the Cat Warrior series by Erin Hunter, and she's obsessed with cats. And she has so many ideas about what she wanted to do with her business with cats. And some were doable, and some you just kind of helped her along. And I just thought your style, well, all of you just did such an amazing job supporting the students, but also empowering them with the knowledge and the information about financial literacy, entrepreneurship, and just the vocabulary and ideas that just sparked so much creativity and wonder in the children. A lot of the people who will listen to this podcast are early childhood professionals. How can early childhood professionals take this idea of business, entrepreneurship, financial literacy, and bring it down to younger children, kindergarten, preschool?
I think that just the concept of making them aware of it is enough of a starting point. Just bringing it into their awareness. It doesn't have to have a specific end goal. I don't know how much of the program you were present for. I know each morning when we started out, I could kind of hear you in the background helping getting her started, but I don't know how much of it you were present for, because I couldn't see everybody, unfortunately. That's such a downside of doing everything in Zoom, is you can't directly interact with everybody, unfortunately. But I don't know how much you saw how frequently I directly reminded the students that this is an imagination exercise. I'm just trying to get you to think about it. There isn't a specific outcome that I want you to have, if nothing else, because if you put too high a stake on something so new that is already so involved, I think it's very easy for children to withdraw or feel like there's something they're missing, and so they don't know how to interact with it. Why does everyone else seem to get this? I don't really get it. Or this is something that I barely even knew existed before today. But just bringing it into their awareness is like a key thing. One of the hardest things about facilitating the BizKids Club is convincing kids that entrepreneurship is worth their attention. There's a lot of things pulling everyone's my attention. I have severe ADHD in this day and age, but for kids, there's a lot of things pulling their attention, a lot of digital media and otherwise. So getting them to return their attention to the content is enough, first of all, especially for the hour and a half that we have them. But for any other educator, I'm sure they're very much aware that how to harness a child's attention is a really big deal. It's a big part of the work, and it requires making it relevant to their lives and their interests, which is number one for any educator, especially child educators. We know that we have to make it relevant to them. So we've molded this club around allowing kids to brainstorm and explore their own ideas. As you saw, we were trying to support her in her idea, even if it was like, well, that sure is an entire block of buildings you're going to have to buy to do that business idea. That's okay. They're not going to be able to make it to step 2 to explore the financial aspects of that until they can be okay and excited with whatever they're doing. If they're not interested and excited in it, they're not going to maintain their attention on it. So really just bringing it to their interest and bringing it into their awareness is super important. So on day 1, we discuss the importance of passion and self-motivation for entrepreneurs. And we make vocabulary words out of them. If someone isn't passionate about their business idea, it's hard to stay motivated through all the work that goes along with being an entrepreneur. So like anything else, financial literacy has to be made personal if it's going to mean anything to anybody. So entrepreneurship has to be personal in some way if it's going to have any meaning, if it's going to hold in the mind, if somebody's going to physically interact with it for longer periods. Let them explore it and use their imagination and bring it to their interest levels. And then as they grow up, they'll figure out other ways to make it relevant to the real world, but definitely just letting them keep it in their awareness for the time being is enough.
That's great. And my next question was going to be about parents, but I think what you said is for professionals working with young children or parents alike, that these are principles that can serve anyone that's encouraging and supporting young children. That's just wonderful. Thank you so much. Well, the other thing that I wanted to ask you about was how can, I know you guys had a grant to do this. Could you talk a little bit about how you got the grant and what the grant, because what I'm thinking is other people might want to do something like this too, and giving them ideas for how they can get this up and running, and money always helps. So having grant writers or writing grants to do this, does anyone want to share about that part of it?
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, we started BizKids back in 2007, but it was limited to a few locations, and it was also limited in the scope of what they got to experience. So in 2019, the Orange County Board of County Commissioners, they commissioned a group, an independent firm, to research and provide recommendations for the utilization of $20 million in new funding earmarked for children's programming and services in Orange County. So there's this, bucket of money that was made available for and earmarked specifically for children's programs and services in Orange County. So that's one example. Obviously, this is funds made available through the county government, but we're always looking to see what opportunities are out there. And while we don't have a dedicated team of grant writers, we do have a group that's really passionate about the services that we offer. And we can leverage that passion and the experience of others in grant writing to pursue these opportunities. And so we went for it, and we applied for that funding, and we're fortunate enough to receive it. And as Michael shared, that funding allowed us to introduce underprivileged youth in Orange County to the worlds of business and entrepreneurship. So currently we were able to expand to 7 library locations in different zip codes. And we were also able to reach and partner with other community stakeholders to offer BizKids at community centers and schools and churches and apartment complexes that are in our targeted demographic. But really it's just kind of, I think what really helped us is that we started small and started with what we could do. And so when the opportunity became available, we had the sort of bones, if you will, of a program. So, and the experience of having presented it to children and seeing the impact that it had in their lives. So we were able to build on that past experience and put forward an application that was award worthy. So we're really fortunate, and we're actually going into our 3rd year. Can you guys believe that, Michael and Olivia? 3 years of BizKids, it's crazy. And so we're really excited. Also, as you mentioned, Marissa, we had to move to virtual. And so that was a really interesting transition. But it's been it's really nice to see how well that's worked. If I may, just very quickly, you mentioned earlier what it was like for students to participate from home. And I remember one particular example because the benefit of going virtual is that the kids are typically at home, which is really nice because a lot of times they were isolated and they didn't have lots of opportunities to socialize with others. And so we created this virtual safe space for them to learn, but also to connect with one another. And the instructors have done a phenomenal job creating these safe and comfortable spaces for the students to share. And so I remember one particular story of a young man who had pitched his plant nursery business that he was running at home with his parents. And he had a variety of plants and trees and shrubs that were being grown in his family's garden. And because he was home, he could take the camera with him and show us his garden. And it was very clear how excited and passionate and knowledgeable he was on all the nutrients and the values of each plant. But it was really funny because at one point he was like really pushing the sale of the avocado trees in his pitch. So he's like, yeah, these are great. Da, 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 da. And then without irony, he said, when they asked him why he was pushing those so hard, he said, oh, because they're dying. So we need to move them all soon. And so that's just like a funny but sweet story. And it's exactly the kind of moment that we experience again and again and again with this club. Because like, Michael said, it's not just about, teaching them about business and how to go and make a profit, but really it's about helping them think like an entrepreneur, which often just means that they become more aware of the opportunities that exist around them, that they start to think maybe more critically and more creatively. And so it's instilling in them that, you can be confident. Yeah, you can use your imagination and be experimental in your ability to like problem solve and tackle challenges. And it's not just about starting companies. It's a way of thinking. And in that sense, everybody can be entrepreneurial.
I love that, Mr. Orengo. What you said just kind of shows all the things that children take away from this. I mean, that child who was the BizKids scholar who was developing his botanical company, garden, and business, he was learning math. He was learning how to plan ahead. He's developing his executive functioning. He's learning to focus and attend to tasks. He's listening to what you guys are teaching him and making it personal and building it into what he's doing. I mean, so many things that we try to do with encouraging child development and supporting the development of children in many areas, academics, and also their human development. And what a great opportunity. I was wondering if Mr. Linden or Miss Okolue had a highlight so far from BizKids. I love that. I love the one with the plants. I mean, that is so great. Kids are, I got to hear some of the ones from the class that my daughter did because it was virtual and she and I share an office. And it was so much fun to hear what the kids presented and their pitches. And I was just wondering if the two of you wanted to share a highlight so far.
Yeah, it's there's definitely something a little different for every single club. And we've been lucky to do a lot of clubs. I don't know if it's because it's the sector we're in or what, but we've gotten quite a few clubs. We only had the opportunity to do one fully in-person club before we had to move everything to Zoom. So I have a lot of like intense memories from that one club because we were just getting it started and we had 16 to 18 kids from a wide age range. And then we did our first mini market there in a room in that building. It was a lot. So I definitely have like a lot of bodily highlights from that experience because they've been burned into my nervous system. It was just a lot of energy. It was very exciting. But since going to Zoom, every time a child is willing to turn on their camera, it's a highlight because it's a lot of black screens. If they're willing to speak, it's an incredible highlight. But there's something about, I don't even know if I can recreate this on this camera, but there's something about when a child pops up on the screen and this is all you see, and they're like, really excited. It's an amazing feeling. It's a great experience. And then every now and then you get the kid who's like, doesn't know how close they are, but they do have a finger in their nose the whole time. And it's just so great. I just love it. So being able to talk to kids when they're there, unabashedly being themselves and waiting for the next thing to interact with. No, it's always great. The highlights are the little experiences, you know what I mean?
And you guys are just so wonderful with the children. My daughter was shy and she was one of the ones that didn't want to turn on the camera because all the kids were older than her and she was so nervous and, wanted to be, she wanted to have everything be perfect and not have, the older kids think her ideas were dumb. And you guys were just so natural and gentle and welcoming of all the children. I mean, your styles are just so beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. But yeah, mine was one of them who it took her a while. I think towards the end though, she was starting to feel more and more comfortable to talk out. And then also the small groups really helped when it was just the small group. I think she was like, oh, okay, I can try some things out with the small group. But you're right. That is such an adorable example of how they start to eventually come out of their shell.
Yeah, and I just want to add on, I was actually the one who I think worked most with your daughter, and I love her so much. She is so passionate. I mean, every time there was just a minute, she was like, Miss Olivia, like, yes, just like, and she's so knowledgeable about the cats. I mean, it came out of nowhere. And like after one session, her PowerPoint was done and it was so detailed and so just like things I never even thought of. So your daughter was just amazing. But one of the highlights I have from BizKids is just how appreciative a lot of the kids are that there's just someone to listen to their ideas and not tell them, oh, that's dumb, that doesn't make any sense. Like, that's not what we want. We want them to understand that it doesn't have to make sense. I mean, the cell phone, something everyone has every day, that didn't make sense when someone first saw that. They thought, that's stupid. Why do I need to carry something with me to make a phone call? I'll just go to a payphone or just wait till I get home or just things like that. Business ideas or any idea in general, they're not going to make sense. But that's what we strive to achieve here, is just create a safe space for kids to just share their ideas, whether it's weird or makes sense or something that someone's already done. It's just, we don't want them to discourage them from anything. It's just let them know that anything is possible, and if you just put a little work into it, then you can make anything you want. And that's really what I enjoy most about this, is when kids say, thank you so much for like not making me feel stupid, and to just listening to me and encourage me to do something. And I think when I was working at another branch, because I go through the different branches here, and one kid, she was just so appreciative that, I was saying, it's okay if you're shy. You don't have to be shy. You don't have to talk, but I'll listen to you when you do. And she was just appreciative that I wasn't pushing my idea on her or pushing what her mom was telling her, or what her dad was telling her, or what everyone else is telling her. Because we do give a list of like the suggested ideas, but you don't have to do that. You don't have to do anything. You can just stay there and just listen to everyone else. You don't have to do any of the worksheets. You don't have to do a presentation. We encourage you to do it just so you can learn. But if you just stay there and just listen, that's perfect. That's wonderful. And we just want kids to not be afraid and not think, I'm doing something wrong, so I'm not even going to try. There's no wrong thing when it comes to something like this. You will always learn something, you'll always grow, and that's all we want.
I think honestly, that's one of the most important things about it. Now that you're reminding me, is that there's no testing. So we are in a rare place. We have this rare opportunity to just let kids kind of play around without any kind of pressure for a specific kind of outcome, which is such a rare opportunity in early childhood education, to be able to be in a structured environment like the library, to have a structured curriculum in some way, shape, or form that we can also kind of massage based on the group that we're working with and what kids are bringing in, but without having to then quantify every little thing. That's in my opinion, a very rare teaching and learning opportunity. So if there's anything else that someone needs to hear about why to come do BizKids, it's structured, but there's no required testing. And so they really experience a lot of freedom, but also plenty of structure.
That's great. Thank you so much. And the other thing too that I think you all do is you make learning fun. And when you present the information, you guys are such great teachers. You captivate your audience. I mean, they just want to learn more from you because you're so knowledgeable and you have so much expertise in this area. And one of the things she loved was the example you showed with your store, your Etsy store, and the things that you create and sell. And it's just such a neat opportunity for kids to see the modeling, but also the importance that you place. And Mr. Linden, with your professional radio voice, I mean, you make everything just we hang on every word you're saying because it sounds so important. And when you're talking about important things like taxes and how different types of companies and nonprofits and for-profits and all these different things that they're learning at such a young age, it's like, oh my gosh, this is like a college class. I think I'm a grown-up and I want to take your class. It was awesome. So I cannot thank you enough. I just love what you guys do. How can Buttercup listeners follow you or learn more about BizKids and you and OCLS?
Absolutely. The library's website, ocls.info, is a great resource. So there they'll be able to find a list of all of the events and classes that are scheduled. I just checked a little bit ago and they're currently over 1,500. And that number is about to grow further because we're going to resume in-person classes in September, but lots of opportunities for students to come and learn with us. You can also follow us on social media. We're pretty much everywhere. So Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. You can just search for OCLS Library. We actually have a team dedicated to communicating and connecting with our audience there. So there's lots of great content and many ways for folks to connect. So ocls.info and on social media.
That's wonderful. Thank you for everything you do. The library is such an amazing place. It's a safe harbor. When you started BizKids, it was for children who need that kind of safety and structure and opportunities. And you just keep growing, and it's community library is at the heart of the community. And thank you for doing that for us in our community. You guys are just outstanding, and we're so lucky to have you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Mr. Orengo, Ms. Okolue, and Mr. Linden. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Ms. Macy. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you
Your
so
daughter
much.
was a pleasure also.
Oh, thank you.